Hello, I'm Dr. Geoffrey Tickell of Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and in this video lesson I'm going to work through the Chapter 8 homework that I assigned to my Accounting 202 students. Okay, so it'll be best if you work along with it. Okay, look at the question, consider the answer, and then listen to my workings, watch my workings, and then see if that makes sense to you. Okay, so you can pause this as you work through with me. Alright, so hopefully what you've done is you've already watched the overview video I did on Chapter 8, which I loaded up earlier today. Alright, so question 1 on Chapter 8. Okay, so question 1 on Chapter 8 is what's called a special order question. And the information reads like this. We have Oars has been requested to do a special order, okay, Oars, and we have to find out what the operating income is. Now it says here the company's relevant range extends to 115,000 units, and Oars has received a special order for 10,000 t-shirts at a special price of $50,000. Okay, so 10,000 t-shirts at $50,000. So that means that the selling price is $5 per t-shirt, which we presume is well under what they normally would sell their t-shirts for, and that's why it's a special order. Okay, now they do have the capacity to fill the special order. And what we have to do with this one is work out what the cost of the special order is so that they can work out whether there's an operating income surplus or not. Okay. All right. So what we do is we got selling price $5. Then we look at the incremental costs, and so they are always the variable costs. So we've got direct materials. Now it says down the bottom here that the special order t-shirt would use a fabric that is less expensive than the standard fabric used by Orr, which would allow Orr to save 50 cents per t-shirt. Okay, and so therefore, instead of costing the normal, $3.20 or thereabouts, yeah, because it's 320,000 divided by 100,000. So instead of costing the normal $3.20 per t-shirt in direct materials, it's only going to cost them $2.70. So that's the direct materials, $2.70. The direct labor stays the same at 40 cents. Okay, and the variable manufacturing overhead is the same at 85 cents. Okay, now as far as our topic goes, $5 minus 270 minus 40 minus 85 gives us a contribution margin of $1.05, $1.05. Contribution margin per unit. Okay. Now, because that's a positive number, if you multiply that out by the 10,000 t-shirts, then that's going to be operating income is going to increase by $10,500. So this company should accept the special order because their operating income will increase by $10,500, and they do have the capacity to manufacture that special order. All right. Okay. That's all we do with that particular question. Okay. In my accounting lab, you'll also have another column over here for total. Right. So all you do in that particular total column is you just multiply it out by the 10,000. So we've got 50,000 over here. We've got 27,000 here, 4,000 here, and 8,500 here, for a total of 10,500. All right, so that's the answer to that one. All right, so they should accept the special order because it will increase operating income by $10,500. So if you want to pause the video and just put that through your My Accounting Lab, then do so now, because we're going to go straight on to question 2. Now question 2 is what we call a discontinued operations question. What we have here is a business looks at their financial statements according to the divisions, and they find that the accessories division is making a loss of $15,000. Okay? So question 2, they've got what's called discontinued or discontinuing option. Do we discontinue the accessories department? In other words, close it down. What happens in a question like that is it's making a $15,000 loss, and management might believe that if they close down the accessories department, the overall profit will increase by $15,000 because they no longer have the accessories making the $15,000 loss. But that's wrong. Okay, simple as that. That would be a mistake for them to do that. The accessories department is actually making a positive contribution margin. If you look at the question, you've got the contribution margin by the accessories department of $11,000, positive. Okay, so if they close down the accessories department, they'd lose that $11,000, and the fixed cost would move from the accessories, $26,000 fixed cost would move from the accessories to the men's and the women's. They'd still have to pay the fixed costs because they're fixed. And so what would happen is that the company's overall profit would change from $9,000 profit to a $2,000 loss because they've lost the $11,000 but haven't saved any money in the fixed costs. Okay, so if we look at this, if I put this into, that's the short way of doing it, but if we look at a slightly longer version and we have the sales, okay, what they were and what they would be after, so before, let's just say before, after, and then the change, okay, the difference. So sales before, in total, $258,000. After, they lose the $101,000 from accessories. So that's in fact, let me put it this way: before, and then the change, and then after. We'll do it that way. Okay, before the change and then after. So the change is they lose the $101,000. And so after that, they've got $157,000 as sales. Less the variable expenses, okay? It was $176,000. They then don't have the variable expenses of accessories, so that's $90,000 that they don't have to pay anymore because there's no more accessories department. And so that gives them $86,000 here. All right, 176 minus 90,000 equals 86. That gives you the contribution margin, which is what I talked about before. Overall, the contribution margin was 82,000. They're going to lose the 11,000, right? So minus the 11,000 that they've lost by closing down accessories, and that leaves them with a contribution margin of 71,000, which is 157 minus 86. Still got the fixed costs. Right now, I won't apportion the fixed costs except to say that the fixed costs in total was 73,000. No change in fixed costs. They still have all of those fixed costs. So therefore, the fixed costs in total 73,000. What's happened here? They made a loss, 2,000. Okay, which is what I said before in the short version. They've now turned their 9,000 profit into a 2,000 loss by closing down the accessories department. All right, once again, you might want to pause that and put that into your My Accounting Lab homework. All right, question 3. Okay, question 3. This is what's called a constrained resource question. as I said in my overview video, it might be constrained because of machine hours or direct labour skill, but in most cases we use machine hours. Alright, with this business I'll read Divine Fashion in Chicago operates, no we just did that one, sorry I take that back. Turnover. Storeway produces plastic storage bins for household storage needs. The company makes 2 sizes of bins, large and regular. Demand for the product is so high that the company can sell as many of each size as it can produce. The same machinery is used to produce both sizes. The machinery is available only 3,300 hours per period, and the company can produce 11 large bins for every hour compared to 16 regular bins in the same amount of time. Fixed expenses amount to $100,000 per period. Alright, so this is what we do. You got the selling price per unit. Selling price, we'll do the regular first, and then the large here. Okay? Alright, now the selling price for the regular, $8.50. For the large, the selling price is $10.50. The variable cost is $3.50 for the regular and $4 for the large. Contribution margin, therefore, $5 for the regular and $6.50, $6.90, sorry, this is $10.90, can't read my own writing, $6.90, and so it's $6.90 for the large. Now, someone who isn't trained in this area would say, well, we should produce lots of large because we make $6.90 by doing the large compared to only $5 for the regular. But they forgot one thing. How many machine hours does it take to make a regular versus a large? So we look at the units per machine hour, and it takes, the machine can produce 16 regular bins in an hour, or it can produce 11 large. So we multiply that out, and so the contribution margin per machine hour, 5 times 16 is $80. $6.90 times 11 is $75.90. So, which one do you emphasize? You emphasize that one because it has the highest contribution margin per machine hour. So emphasize the regular bins because the contribution margin per machine hour is higher. If you want to maximize profits, they should spend all 3,300 machine hours making regular bins and 0 machine hours making the large bins. Okay, because they can sell all of what they can make. If they wanted to maximize profits, then you've got the number of bins is 16 multiplied by 3,300, which is 52,800. Let me just put that up. We're going to focus on the regular. So all up, we've got sales, or number of bins, is 52,800. Contribution margin per bin is $5, okay, which comes from up here. And then that gives you contribution margin in total of $264,000. Subtract the fixed costs, which they said were $100,000. And so the operating income is $164,000. Okay, so the maximum profit they can make is to produce all the regular bins, and when they do that, then they'll maximize their profit of $164,000. Okay, that's question 3. Question 4 is similar to question 3, so you should just try that yourselves. It's still a constrained resource. It's got different figures, but if you follow the process I showed you in question 3, you'll be able to do it for question 4. So let's move on to question 5. Okay, so for 5, in the homework, the question says, okay. Suppose Luca's Garden restaurant is considering whether to bake bread for its restaurant in-house or buy the bread from a local bakery. The chef estimates the variable cost of making each loaf include 54 cents of ingredients, 20 cents of variable overhead for the electricity to run the oven, and 71 cents of direct labour for kneading and forming the loaves. Allocating fixed overhead, which is the depreciation on the kitchen equipment and the building, based on direct labour hours, assigns $1.04 of fixed overhead per loaf. None of the fixed costs are avoidable, and the local baker would charge Lucas Garden $1.72 per loaf if Lucas Garden bought the loaf from the local bakery rather than make it themselves. Now, question 1 says, what is the absorption cost of making the bread in-house, and what is the variable cost per loaf? So I'm going to answer the second part first. What is the variable cost per loaf? So we're looking at the relevant costs, and the relevant costs are direct materials, 54 cents, okay? Direct labour, 71 cents, just using the information they gave us in the question. Variable overhead, 20 cents. Okay, now if we total those up, that's $1.45. That's the relevant cost. $1.45, all the way down to this $1.45 is the relevant cost of making the bread in-house. So what's the variable cost per loaf? It's $1.45. Then the question says, what is the absorption cost? Now, absorption cost just means if we allocated the fixed cost per unit, what would that be? Well, you take your, it tells you that you've got the allocating fixed overhead, which is the depreciation based on direct labour, assigns $1.04. Okay, so we're adding, in fact, if we're adding the $1.04, okay, to the $1.45, and we get $2.49. Now, as far as this topic goes, this is not relevant because the cost of the depreciation on the equipment, kitchen equipment in the building, is already factored into all of those other meals and services that they provide, not just for the bread. Okay, now, with that aside, if we just take that question out, the absorption part, and just focus on what's relevant in this question, should Lucas Garden bake the bread in-house or buy from the local bakery? Well, to make it in-house, it cost them $1.45. To buy, it cost them $1.72. All right? So, $1.72 compared to $1.45, that's a 27-cent difference. So, in other words, every time Lucas Garden bought the loaf of bread from up the road at the local bakery, they'd be paying 27 cents more than if they baked it in-house. Okay, so if we answer the question, part 2 says, should Lucas Garden bake the bread in-house or buy from the local bakery? Lucas Garden should bake the bread in-house since the variable cost of making each loaf is less than the cost of outsourcing each loaf. Okay, and question 3, in addition to the financial analysis, what else should Lucas Garden consider when making the decision? They should consider all of the above. Is your answer for that one. I'll let you read the question, but then it'll be all of the above is the correct answer. All right, and the last, we'll do question 6. Okay, question 6 is a sell as is or process further question. And in my overview video, I talked about milk and then getting that turned into yogurt. All right, or it could have been butter or cream, or even ice cream to some extent. You know, you can make many things out of milk. All right, so Mask Truck Accessories has an inventory of 485 obsolete remote entry keys that are carried in inventory at the manufacturing cost of $75,175. That $75,175 is a very good example of a sunk cost. It is not relevant in our decision. Okay, it doesn't matter if they paid $5 for it or $5 million for it. It's a sunk cost, not relevant. So don't worry about that. Move on past that. Now, the production supervisor, Carla Lewis, must decide to do one of the following: process the inventory further at a cost of $30,000 with the expectation of selling it for $31,000, or scrap the inventory for a sale price of $4,000. Okay, so what should Lewis do? Okay, pretty straightforward. You got your revenue, sell as is versus process further. Okay, process further. Now the revenue, if they sell as is, they'll make $4,000. If they process it further, they'll make $31,000. If they've got the extra cost of selling as is zero. The extra cost of processing it further is $30,000. Okay, so that gives you the operating income. And so we've got $4,000 in operating income if they sell as is versus $1,000 if they process it further. So obviously what you do is you sell as is, because that gives you the highest operating income compared to processing it further, and it would just be a waste of time to process it further. So again, My Accounting Lab asks you what to do there, and so you say Lewis should sell as scrap because processing further will decrease operating income by $3,000. That brings us to question 7, which is the last question on the homework. That is also a sell as is versus process further. Okay, so they can sell it as cocoa powder, or they can sell it as chocolate syrup, or they can box it up and sell it as assorted chocolates. And so I want you to work through that one on your own. I'll just give you this little clue though. When it comes to answering the question, the net benefit of cocoa powder is $15,000, chocolate syrup $34,000, or sorted chocolate $21,000. So it's best to sell as chocolate syrup. And it says the president has made the wrong decision for the following reasons, etc. Okay? All right, so that'll do us for Chapter 8 homework. I hope that helps. And I'll look at Chapter 9 next week. Thank you. Bye.